All right. Hi there. Welcome to Play on Breakout Sessions hosted by East and sponsored by Windstream. My name is Sarah Swisher and I'm the project coordinator at East.
And my name is Melissa Clemens and I'm the student training coordinator at East.
And I'm Jordan Taylor and I'm part of the technical support group at East and we're your moderators. So we're all here to answer questions and help troubleshoot any issues you might be having with this webinar. And we want you to just take a moment, familiarize yourself with the chat and your screen and everything going on so you don't miss an opportunity to chime in at any point in this webinar. Most of the questions will be answered at the end, so go ahead and get your questions in our Q&A section.
Before we begin, we want to recognize our virtual breakout session sponsor, Windstream. Windstream is a leading provider of advanced network communications and technology solutions for consumers, businesses, enterprise organizations, and wholesale customers across the U.S. The company supplies core transport solutions on a local and long-haul fiber network spanning approximately 129,000 miles. Thank you, Windstream, for sponsoring this breakout session. If you are unfamiliar with East but have chosen to tune in, thanks. Here's a little bit about what we do. East is an educational nonprofit headquartered in Little Rock, Arkansas. We put industry-grade technology into classrooms so students can do service projects in their communities. With 259 programs spanning across Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Pennsylvania, we provide all learners with the opportunity to have relevant, individualized, and life-changing educational experiences. Joining us today for our panel are Mary Beth Hatch, Dr. Michael Gelt, and Anthony Conklin. Our first panelist, Mary Beth Hatch, is a former East facilitator from Harrison Junior High School and is currently workforce coordinator at North Arkansas College. Our second panelist, Dr. Michael Gelt, was an executive vice president and provost at Central Michigan University until his retirement in 2019. He was also Dean of the College of Science at University of Arkansas at Little Rock in 2006 and was a former board member for East. Lastly, Anthony Conklin is an East alum of Beebe High School and alumni co-leader for East Conference 2020. He is currently a student at the University of Arkansas Beebe campus, a 911 operator dispatcher for the Cabot Police Department, and a notary signing agent for the state of Arkansas. Thank you for joining us. Sarah Swisher will start us off with our first question.
All right. Now let me get everyone unmuted and back on camera. All right. So I think we have everyone back on camera. Let me see.
Let's see.
There you go. There you are, Dr. Gelt. Okay, so for our first question today, did you have a plan for your future when you graduated high school? If so, how did it change? And we'll start with whoever wants to start.
I can start.
All right, Mary Beth. Go.
For most of my junior high school career, I thought I wanted to be a welder, following in the steps of my grandfather and kind of travel around and do that. I really enjoyed welding and was pretty good at it in high school. But I also played a lot of sports and thought maybe I want to coach, and so I thought let's do that. Ended up going to my meeting to register for classes at UCA, and for some reason changed my mind during that registration process and decided to major in elementary education. So yes, definitely my plans changed for sure, and I did end up getting a degree in early childhood education, but now I'm working at a community college. So yes, even though I'm a planner and I thought I really knew what I wanted to do, those plans definitely changed.
Yeah, I would say that my plans changed also. In high school, I always thought I was going to be a biologist, but I was thinking maybe in the medical area. And actually, I ended up being a biologist. So in some ways, my plans didn't change, but I figured I could just go to high school and then get a job as a biologist. And as I discovered, in order to really have a job in biology, or a lot of the jobs in biology, certainly the ones that interested me, I needed more education. I got fascinated by doing research, and for that, I needed to go on and get my PhD. The other things that happened, my life outside of school did not turn out exactly as I had planned. I kind of figured I'd be the traditional student. I went to a four-year institution, four-year university, and figured I would be traditional. That did not really happen. I fell in love with someone as a freshman and got married as a freshman, and had a daughter while I was a sophomore. And so I spent a lot of time outside the classroom working and trying to support a family. It was great for me, but it certainly was a change in my plans.
I'm kind of the same way. With Mary Beth, I kind of had a plan, and I thought it was a set plan. I thought that's what I was going to do. And then whenever I went to go talk to my advisor at the college, I kind of changed. I was going for specifically business, but now I'm going for business and police, law enforcement, just because of my current job. It kind of talked me into, wanting to get into helping the community more. So it's kind of how mine changed.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. And so if you could go back in time and give one piece of advice to that person that thought they had a plan, what would you say? And we can start with Dr. Gell.
I chose the wrong major. I thought I would be a biologist. I ended up as a microbiologist. But what I learned along the way was to do the things that I wanted to do in my career. I needed more mathematics than I got as a biology major. So I would have been better off as a chemistry major, or a physics major, or an engineering major in terms of my career. The other thing that I would have told myself was take more humanities courses, take more communications courses, the sorts of things that really help you work in an environment, whether it's a university environment or a corporate environment, or I can see my children that work in various fields, they need the communication skills. And it's both writing or oral. Every one of us, I'm guessing, has had to give an oral report at some point. And the more practice you have would have helped me an awful lot.
Sarah, do you want somebody to go next? Or are you
Sorry, I thought
That's what I was wondering.
Whoever wants to go next can go next.
I can. I could give so many pieces of advice to that young 18-year-old or to anybody in that stage for sure. A couple of things, and it's, putting blame on other people is never okay, and that's not what I'm doing. But growing up in a small town in a time where there was very little access to the internet, we had dial-up, at the time when I was in high school. And so in all honesty, a lot of the things that I thought were career paths were the ones that I saw in front of me and in my community: doctor, teacher, lawyer, or just go straight to work or to the military. And I feel that little exposure to different career fields definitely impacted my choice. I think looking back, and when I went to college too, and having roommates in every major, from occupational therapy to other teachers and different majors in the sciences, it opened my eyes to what was really out there. And so I think now students have access to see that there's unlimited careers. No one ever said, hey, you can do something that doesn't exist. So I think that's one thing looking back on, is just the opportunities that were out there that I had no idea that they existed. And honestly, I probably would have had a different major. I definitely think I would have went into something medically related and or science related for sure, looking back. And the other piece of advice that I would give to myself and to anybody is take every single opportunity that comes your way, from trips to traveling to scholarships to anything. And it sounds silly to say, like, why would you not take those? But those things that I've taken now that I'm an adult, through education, have allowed me to travel all over the United States because I said yes, or I applied for something, or I was nominated for something and then decided to apply for it, even though the application took me 85 hours to complete and it was hard work. It was worth it. And there are times that I've applied for things I didn't get, and it's all a learning opportunity. There's a few trips that I was offered in my younger days that I said, no, I don't know. And it's complete regret. So a few minutes of scared and terrified are 100 times better than regretting things your entire life. And circumstances happen, and there's things that happen and we're not able to do some stuff. I completely understand that. But when these things come your way, because they may never come again, grab onto them, relationships, partnerships, opportunities, and just really grab onto them and go with it and use it, because I promise you in some way it'll benefit you down the road.
Mary Beth, I have to second what you were saying in reference to taking every opportunity. That was one of my points. I know I've taken, quite a bit, but there's still things I look back on that I wish I would have taken. So, and then the second piece of advice I had was to start your resume as early as possible. I know there's stuff that I did not put on my resume that I can't even remember now. And I think it's just good. Every accomplishment, every award, everything you do, even if it's in high school, I think it's still good to jot that down somewhere, or put it on your resume. It helps, applying for jobs, colleges, anything in that case, anything you participate, I think you should put it on there. That's just one thing I really wish I would have done, looking back in time. So.
All right, thanks, guys. This is touching a bit on what Dr. Gelt was talking about, but what soft skill has helped you the most in your career? And we could start with you, Anthony.
Okay, my soft skill that's helped me the most, it may seem kind of just obvious, but mine's having excellent communication skills. In my current career, I talk to hundreds of people a day on different emergency situations. I also talk with, over 10 officers that are different, every 6 hours. I talk to, higher up people, talking to mayors, city councilmen, just different people, and being able to take what you're given and giving it to another person, and knowing the way to talk to people. That's kind of that's the soft skill that's helped me the most. So.
Yeah, it's communication for me also. I think the hardest soft skill for me has been learning how to listen. I come from my personality, trained as a scientist. I want to go in and solve problems. And sometimes you have to figure out what the problem is. And that takes having a conversation. And you can understand an awful lot just by sitting there and letting someone tell you about what's happening in their lives. And it's not necessarily a 2-minute conversation. And so that has been the hardest for me, and it's taken a long time for me to learn how to listen. I still work at it all the time. I think the other one that's really hard for me is writing. And I'm still in a position, I'm actually working on a blog with another retiree, and it's the first time in my life I've written a blog. And I've written books and papers and all that sort of thing, but getting something down to 800 words that can be understood, we've been working on this thing for about 3-4 weeks already, and we're still not at the point where we're ready to go live with it. And so that writing skill is really very, very difficult for me. Some other people may find it easier, but it's very important because almost no matter what you do, you're going to have to communicate written as well as oral.
Yeah, those are both, I mean, excellent. And I can go right along with the communication. Mine's definitely confidence, which I'm a very competitive person, have been since I was born. Both of my parents barely played sports, but that's all I wanted to do. And so I've taken that super competitive drive, and it's all internal. But I use it to fuel a lot of the things that I want to do, which was, be the best teacher, be the best this or that or whatever. And I've taken that confidence in a room full of very important people or a room full of students. It doesn't matter. Those are both the same to me. And I use that confidence in speaking. Another important soft skill that I definitely did learn from my parents is to outwork everybody, be the hardest worker. So if I have a boss that's looking at me, or I have team members that are counting on me, colleagues, students, they know that I'm going to outwork everybody and they're going to get my absolute best. And I think that goes along with so many quotes that I love, but opportunities often missed because it's dressed in overalls and look like hard work, is one of my favorites and has been in my classroom for years. And then good leaders don't try to produce more followers. They try to produce more leaders. And so I think when your students, or when your friends or your parents, your bosses, your college advisors, it doesn't matter, when they see that you're a hard worker and you'll do whatever it takes to get the job done, I think that's a soft skill that you can actually learn. Some of those things you can't learn. Some people can't speak in front of audiences, and they just don't have that confidence no matter how hard they try. I get that, but you can change your attitude when it comes to how hard you work. And when nobody can outwork you, it's hard to keep you down.
All right, thanks, Mary Beth. And then to go off of that, based on your experience, what is one skill or characteristic you believe current employers are looking for, and how would you encourage students to develop it? And we'll go with Dr. Gelt starting.
Okay, and actually, one of the things that I have sent to Sarah is a list of, they call them competencies, which are really a lot of soft skills. That are the things that are that employers are looking for. This is a list that comes from the National Association of Colleges and Employers, which is sort of an interesting group. And if you have any time to spend on a website, theirs is one of the more interesting websites to spend some time on, because they do a lot of surveys of both employers and universities and technical schools and a lot of other organizations to find out what employers are looking for. And one of the things, if you do look at the list that they've just added in the last year, is global literacy. And that has become something that corporations are looking for. You can see it even in the coronavirus incident, the pandemic that's going on right now, that 3M, which is located in Minnesota, is sourcing. They have a factory in China, and so masks are coming from China to the United States. Well, that means that 3M has got employees in China, and they have Chinese employees that come to the United States. And knowing how to interact in that global world is something that is becoming increasingly more important.
I'm seeing very similar things that Dr. Gelt stated. I'm now working at the community college and directly with employers through workforce. And one of the things we hear over and over is it's kind of all encompassing, but it's responsibility. And so it's students that and employees, if you cannot come to work, you make the call and say, I'm not able to come in. You don't just not show up for the day. That's one of the biggest ones that we hear over and over, is just that responsibility, or if you need to leave work early, letting someone know. And sometimes those things sound silly, but they're really not. That's all they're looking for. And then consistent attendance every day, as far as coming to work or even coming to class when we see college students. Attendance. And then finally, I'll be the one to say it, being drug-free. We talk about that from kindergarten through 12th grade, but that's a huge concern with employers these days, are employees being able to pass drug tests. And for those that are listening that are in high school or close to entering the workforce, If your place does random drug tests, or if they don't, you will lose your job if they have a zero tolerance policy, and you'll lose it that day. And so that's something that they feel like they're telling employees and students, but we're not so sure if the word is getting out, because it's continuing to be an issue. So that's part of responsibility, taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And following along on that, employers tend to look at places like Facebook and the pictures that a potential employee has posted. And so you are building your resume in one way by putting things down in the actual resume, but you're building your resume also by what you do that appears online, and it can come back and impact you.
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely, I agree with both of y'all. Absolutely. Mine's just kind of just a little bit different. Mine, I was looking more at adaptability. A lot of employers want someone that can adapt to, being around different personalities, different people within their, within the job. I mean, every job, no matter where you go, it's going to be different personalities, different people. Adaptability also covers, being able to adapt to your working times, your shift changes. I think it's just, adaptability is just so broad compared to, what you guys were stating was more specific. Adaptability covers a lot. And I think, we really just need to work on adapting those even at a young age, just by willing to make mistakes and then just try to learn from them and then go from there, and that's really why I think adaptability would be, my one skill or characteristic.
That's great.
Yeah, if I had to add one more, it would be lifelong learning. I've been around longer than anyone else, I think, on this panel. I guarantee you, the longer than anyone else on this panel. Things that we use now all the time, like the internet, didn't exist when I got my first jobs. Personal computers did not exist when I got my first jobs. And yet right now, to do what I'm doing, I have to be facile. I have to be able to use all the current skills. When I became a biologist, it was mostly looking at things and writing down what you saw. Now it's all DNA analysis and antibodies and things that we're totally ignorant of back when I was a student. When I was an undergraduate, DNA had not been sequenced. It wasn't until I was a graduate student and a postdoc that we started to learn some of the molecular biology. But I then have published in those areas, and I've done research in those areas, and it's because I'm continually learning. Even today with the coronavirus, I was emailing with the person who was my mentor, my PhD advisor, and we were sending data back and forth because we've been sitting here plotting some of the public numbers because that's what we do, and we're continually learning how to pull all this stuff together. I'm sure it's the same if I was going into any of the other fields that the panelists have gone into, that you have to keep learning new things.
Great words, Doctor.
Okay, next question. With your knowledge and involvement with EASE, would you say it helps prepare students for life after high school, and how? And Anthony, you can start.
Oh boy, no, I was kidding. So absolutely, I had a fantastic EASE facilitator. Shout out to Miss Joyce Sites. But every skill you use within the EASE program, within your class there, I use it every day. We practice communication skills. We use technology. There's just a broad list, and we keep using those every day. I know every day I use communication, I use technology, I use problem solving, I use critical thinking. All those things we learned and we use in our EASE programs. And we put together. We came up with community problems, and we pretty much fixed them. And we still do that. I mean, I still do that. I deal with a problem, and then I try to fix it as much as possible. So absolutely, I say the involvement in EASE helps prepare you for everyday life after high school for sure.
Yeah, I can speak on the facilitator perspective on that, with just feedback from students applying for jobs, even if it's at Sonic or anywhere like that. I did so well in my interview because of the things we practiced in class, or you made us stand up and do our 30-second elevator pitch, or you grilled us to death when we were applying to be on the conference team with panelists from the community. So I definitely think those soft skills are such a huge focus when it comes to the East classroom. But just like Anthony said, when it comes to problem solving, I think East just provides that opportunity that no other class provides, where students are able to use every single thing in that classroom to solve that problem and beyond. It doesn't just mean they stay inside those classroom walls. They have access to everything, but they can get on the phone and reach out. They can do a Skype session with somebody. And that it's available where they just cannot always do that in another class. And I think another thing it provides that I hope students really take advantage of is the opportunity to collaborate and work as a team, because like we've all stated, you will be doing that in the real world. It doesn't matter if you think you'll be working in a hole on your own, you still have to collaborate. If you want to make money, you're going to have clients of some sort. So I think it builds so many skills that you may not realize until you get out of school, that you draw back on and you access those things that you learned in the East classroom.
Yeah, I think the teamwork is something that East does better than almost any other organization that I've seen. Sarah mentioned that I was on the board for, I think it was 6 or 8 years, whatever. But one of the other things I used to do at conference was judge. And I really enjoyed it. It was one best part of conference with the years I could actually judge, because I got to see the teams work in real time. And I used to really enjoy judging the elementary schools as much as the high schools, because you could see the teamwork build throughout the years. And it's something that you really get from East, that really, and Mary Beth said this, no matter what you do, you're going to end up working in teams. It doesn't matter whether you are out there working out in a field as a farmer, because one of the things I've done over the years is, look at watch people farming, and it's a team process to get everything planted and everything harvested. I worked in a university. It's all teamwork in a university. And so I think no matter what you do, I mean, I used to sell shoes for a living, and selling shoes was teamwork. And so no matter what you do, it's teamwork. So I think that's the most important thing that you learn from East.
For sure. And another question that kind of came to my mind was, what would you say to those that are graduating or will be graduating in a couple years? What would you say to those kids that are kind of looking at all their options and are maybe a bit nervous about what life is bringing after high school? And anyone can answer this question.
Okay, I'll go real quick. One thing I really think is, like, there's so many people that will help mentor. I mean, I know all of us on this panel, like, for sure, if you ever wanted to reach out to any of us, we would totally be okay with that. But there's so many people, even you, Sarah, all these people that's already went to college and, have already went through their options. We could reach out to you, or the students could reach out to you. They could reach out to even college advisor. Even if you're not enrolled in college yet, you could still go talk to an advisor. I know almost all the people on my campus are willing to talk to any student. You can talk to your counselors. You can also Google the colleges you're thinking about and look at all the different options. Some colleges don't offer what other colleges do compared to a community college and a four-year university. So I definitely recommend looking at kind of all your options, reaching out to people, and just collaborating.
I think the advice I'd give people is expect that your goals and your ideas are going to change. Life is not linear, and sometimes things happen, and you just get interested in something, and you have to. I mentioned the love of biology, but I ended up being an administrator, and the reason I ended up in administration is because I realized that I could have a larger impact as an administrator than I could as a faculty member or as a researcher alone in my lab. And so what I wanted to do and my goals just totally changed. And as a result of that, I had to go then get an awful lot of additional education that would enable me to be successful in my job. I've moved around the country as an administrator, and gotten to live in Arkansas, which was probably my favorite place to live. But in Michigan, I lived in Florida. I lived in Philadelphia. I lived right outside Chicago, and each one of those was to explore some more facets of what I could do with my life. And so, life is a journey.
Yeah, I'll definitely give that a huge plug to stepping out there. After I graduated college, I moved to Texas with absolutely no family or friends that I knew, about 8 hours from home. I'm incredibly independent once again, so that was easy for me. It was fun, it was exciting. But I recommend people doing that because it makes you stand on your own 2 feet. You will gain so much confidence and responsibility and learn how to live on your own. I get everybody's not able to do things like that, but that was after college. The before college piece, they both have said great things, and I couldn't agree more. But it is take that chance and know that it will probably change. That's a great benefit, and this isn't just because I work at North Ark as a community college, but community colleges are a great place to get kind of your feet wet and experience that if you're not so sure what you want to do and you don't want to delve out that 25 grand a year at a major university or more, and we all know that. A community college is a great place to experience something like that, get those basics, talk to those professors, talk to those advisors. This is what I'm really thinking. And you're looking at $3 grand a year maybe that you're out for an entire year's worth of coursework at a lot of places. And you may qualify for scholarships and grants, and you may not be out anything. And so it's really looking into your options, doing the research now, just like Anthony said. Talk to your high school counselor, talk to your parents, talk to one of us, send one of us a message, and the e-staff, and they'll help you answer your questions. As an educator, I remember every year we had to do our reflections or our plans for the next year. And one of the things I always, those last few years I put as an elementary teacher were, I wanted to grow. I wanted to be better as a science teacher. And it wasn't that I didn't like science. It's my favorite subject now, especially, but I wasn't as good at it as I should have been. I wasn't giving the best of the science education piece to my students. So I did a complete flip and decided to dig into science as an educator more. And what's interesting is I feel like that's what led me to the East Classroom, and then some other awards and recognition I've received has all been pretty much science related. I'm doing some really fun work right now with National Geographic. And it's just because I said yes to some opportunities and jumped out there and just tried it.
All right, thank you all. And then for our last question before we jump on to the Q&A, all the questions we've gotten in the Q&A portion of the webinar. So everyone get your questions in that section or post it on Facebook. But what was your first job after high school? And anyone can start.
I'll start because I have a feeling it was probably nobody else's. But I've worked since I was 14 because I like to work. But I worked for my dad on our poultry farm. And I started that my senior year and then did that with working at our youth center. But my job was to pick up the dead birds every day because those are discarded in a certain way. Obviously, on these farms, everything's done in a system. But that was my job, and they grow every single day, and so do your muscles every single day. So that was an interesting position. But I've almost always, like I said, since I was 14, worked in a position that allowed me to work with students or kids. And so I definitely worked at the youth center as well as the kindergarten director. So that was really
fun. My first job, which I started while I was in high school, I scooped ice cream at an ice cream store for about a year. I sold shoes. There used to be a shoe chain known as Tom McCann. I sold shoes in several of their stores, both during high school and after high school for a while. I worked for about a week with a moving company right after I graduated high school and discovered that that was not the job for me. I really did not enjoy that. But, you know, I also continued working part-time when I was in college. And there I worked at an information desk in a hospital. So multiple different things. And I think I learned a lot from all of them. I would say probably I learned the most from selling shoes. And it was because that's where I learned an awful lot about communication skills, how to talk to a customer, how to do that customer relation thing, and how to listen to what a customer was telling me.
So my job right outside of high school, I was actually promoted to a general manager that was in charge of assisting with 10 different stores for Fred stores back before that got shut down. So it was I kind of jumped into a pretty big position just right outside of high school. But going back to, like, you know, the knowledge about East, it really helped me be able to just get right in there. And so I really can't relate to like learning and like doing handle and stuff. I got more on the leadership right outside of high school, and then I took a big career change. But yeah, that was my job right out of high school.
And I want to say, because that's a great point Anthony just made about that opportunity existed while he was in high school and then right after high school, and he just took it. That's something on his resume that's going to stand out to his future employers big time, not just what he's doing. So to all the students that are listening, that goes right back to taking those opportunities. Yeah, it might be a lot of hard work, but my goodness, he can't replace that on his resume. That was a very smart decision to take it, even if sometimes those are short-lived. I would take those, and that's the other thing, because right now I'm working with interns and apprentices. Doing those things related to what you think you might want to do for your future or your career is taking on those jobs. I worked at the Little Gym. I worked for Easter Seals in college. I was a tutor for teachers that worked with students in their master's programs at UCA. I worked at the Boys and Girls Club as the after-school coordinator. So any of those things, just like Anthony said at the beginning, that can go on your resume when you go to really apply for that job that you want for your career, where they can look back and say, wow, you've really done the work. That's really important.
All right, I think we can turn to the Q&A, Jordan, if you want to tell us what questions we have.
Yep. So the very first question I saw was from Presley, and she's just curious, what does a microbiologist do?
Oh, and microbiologists work with bacteria, viruses, fungi. Some of us work in areas, I was an environmental microbiologist, and so areas like waste treatment. I just love going out and visiting waste treatment plants and seeing how they work and advising people on how to clean up contaminants. And so it's, to me, I made a serious decision when I was an undergraduate and I was thinking about what I wanted to do with my life. And I said, you know, I'm not smart enough to study and understand big animals like mice and people. I'll stick with the microbes that are really small, and maybe I could figure out how they run their lives. And so, and that's why the coronavirus, which is a microbiological problem, and you know, I listened to Dr. Fauci, and I've been listening to Dr. Fauci for the past 30 years, talking about the epidemics and the pandemics as they spread. That's the same sort of thing that I would look for if I was studying a virus that was attacking a bacteria. And so it's studying the itty bitty little teeny things. It's a lot of chemistry, it's a lot of biology, it's a lot of physics, and because I was doing environmental and waste treatment, I also did a lot of engineering.
Thank you. So Matt from Facebook, he wants to know, what has surprised y'all the most on y'all's professional path?
Oh, I would love to answer this one. I had no idea teachers could win awards I mean, yes, I'd heard of Teacher of the Year, but I mean, awards or recognition or experiences that elevate your profession. No clue. Even through college, no one ever said that. And so for a competitive person to have these things available was phenomenal, and it's created so many opportunities for me. So professionally speaking, and going back to the fact that I didn't know so many careers even existed, that's been a huge surprise for me, are the opportunities for educators. So if there are any East facilitators out there, reach out to me. So many opportunities out there for educators to just expand yourself professionally and create this network of other educators that are out there in the same boat as you and ready to work with you.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise for me was all the travel that I got to do. I expected that if I went to work at a university, well, I'd be at work at a university, and I'd be standing in front of a classroom and talking with students. But it was once I got into that I began to learn about the professional conferences and then networking with people. And back before there was internet, we networked with people primarily by meeting with them, going to conferences in different parts of the country or in different countries. A lot of that has changed because of the technology that we've got right now, and that's a change for the good. But still, if I had not gone into the career that I went into, I don't think I would have seen half the countries that I've seen. And I keep telling people I've never been south of the equator, but I've been to a good number of the countries that are north of the equator. And it's all been because of my job and whether it's a job as an administrator or it's a job as a scientist, it's all been because of that.
I'm still new to, my career. I'm still at the beginning, but one thing I definitely didn't ever realize about 911 operators is how many things are going on at one time and how many things you have to do in that career. That's just been the biggest surprise to me. It's not just picking up the phone and talking to someone. It's like 20 different things, 10 different screens, 14 different phone lines. It's just a lot of stuff. I can't really go on for a professional level. Like I said, I'm still at the start of my career, but that's been the biggest surprise so far for me.
Thank you guys for answering that question. The next few look like they come from Annabelle Barden, and her first one is, considering that a child can start applying for scholarships at the age of 4 years old, do you think that applying at a young age will help for when I apply for college? Are there any tips for how I can get a sports scholarship?
Annabelle, I read through all of your Q&As and everybody that's posted, and I'm way impressed. But you have posed some phenomenal questions. I'm not exactly sure what grade you're in. Absolutely. I would like to say it's never too early to start applying for scholarships. I know people can earn scholarships, like she said, at an early age, and those just stack up. So if you have opportunities to do that, don't pass those up. Dr. Gelt can probably expand on that some more from the university perspective. But as far as your athletic scholarship, that's going to go a lot into, and you are way ahead of when I was in school playing sports, but with the internet now and with being able to record on your phone or anything like that, you start that video collection of your skills or have your parents and kind of build that resume, like we've spoken about on the academic side, athletically, and you can really build up, especially when you're in high school and you start sending those to those schools. Don't be scared to talk to your coaches and have them help you reach out to universities and sports programs, either with your videos of your work or to have them come and recruit you.
Yeah, and you want to look at universities, across the country, and in some cases actually in other countries. I remember we started a lacrosse program at Central Michigan while I was there, and I remember talking to a freshman, and she came simply because we were starting a lacrosse program. She wanted to play lacrosse, and she came from, I think it was Missouri, up to Michigan. She probably had never seen snow until she got up to Michigan. And so, but you've got to be adventurous. This is a a way to expand your horizons, and the scholarships are out there. They're at all different kinds of institutions, and they're all the coaches are looking for different things. If it's an athletic scholarship, so if you go to, if you were interested in playing football and you talk to the coach at Hendrix, you're going to get a different story than if you're interested in playing football and you talk to the coach at University of Arkansas and or the coach at Central Michigan University. You want to reach out and talk to as many people as you can so that you get into the team and the league that is really going to help you progress.
And I think you both covered that very well. I really have nothing to really add to that. Y'all definitely would be the ones that would know that information.
And start early. I mean, you can't start too early in reaching out to people and talking with people. As a student in high school or middle school, you may find an opportunity to work at a university campus during the summer. And so every university I've been at, we always had students, especially during the summer break, come in and work in our laboratories. And those kinds of opportunities clue you right into the scholarship path, and people in admissions get to know you, and all those sorts of things can happen. At East Conference, which of course we didn't have this year, there were always recruiters from the various universities in Arkansas. I have friends, I now live in the Philadelphia area, but I've got friends from up here that go down to ASMSA every year to recruit from down there. So there are always people who are coming down and looking at the students, the East students and other students in the area. Reach out.
All right, so Annabelle's next question, and you might be able to elaborate on this. Are there any tips for strengthening soft skills?
Practice, 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 practice. Like I said, writing is really hard. I keep a journal, and that's one of my ways, and one of the reasons I keep the journal is to practice that. My daughter and my granddaughter and I have just started writing letters, the old-fashioned kind of letters, snail mail, to each other, because we decided it would be something that we would enjoy doing and would help work on the skills that we would find useful. And my daughter works for Boeing. My granddaughter is an EMT. And so we just decided, we live in different parts of the country. Let's start writing letters the old-fashioned way. It's practice.
Yeah, sure. I would have my students, before they got on a phone, to call a community partner or someone that they were collaborating with, and they would write out their script, either type it up on the computer or handwrite it, and then practice it with each other, practice it with me. Yes, you're ready. And then they may still look at that script while they're on the phone. And that's okay, because that you're prepared and you're trying to do the right thing. A piece of advice on email soft skills that I would tell my students, and this is important for anybody, is when you open up an email and you're creating a new message, put your subject line in, type your email, but do not put who it's to. Don't type in that address of who it's to while you're typing it, while you're working on it, because we all know you might accidentally hit send. Somebody may come in, you forget about it. It gets sent and you're not finished. It's not done. You're embarrassed. So that's just a simple thing, because email kind of runs the world right now, and in communication anyways. And so don't put the email address in there till you're ready to send it. That's a simple soft skill tip that I like to share.
I think that's a good one. I mean, I've done that so many times, and I wish I would have, known that before, just until recently. I mean, I've sent emails to big people that were only like halfway, and spelling's horrible. So I completely agree. Going back to my adaptability, that's the one I did a lot of research on, and the way it moved is like going back to just being willing to make mistakes and learning from every mistake that you make. We all make mistakes. I still make mistakes every day. So, just being able to get up from those and learn from them, I think that's a really good soft skill,
All right. And looks like for Annabelle's last question, are there any tips working on teamwork while everyone has to be distanced?
Sure. This is a great example right here. If you have a team and you're working on a project, Zoom is free. Set it up like this. You can group FaceTime. There's a lot of things that you can do to collaborate on. Set those things up beforehand. If you're working on a project, or let's just say you're making something, you're making a plan for when you guys get back together. Somebody's birthday party or something over summer or next year when school starts. Come up with a plan, write out what you want to do, how you want the meeting to go, and collaborate. Maybe send that email out, the agenda, the schedule, which is another great thing is planning and organizing. Have somebody take that role, which Annabelle, it sounds like it might be you, I don't know. Take that role and kind of create an agenda for your team and do a practice one maybe for fun. Maybe create a when this is over, we get back together and do this. But I think that's a great thing and something that now in 2020 you can definitely still collaborate together through social distancing.
I agree. I would actually practice by setting up meetings, and even if the person was in the office next door, we would do it by Skype or WebEx or Zoom, just so that I could get the practice in doing it. One of the things that I found really difficult when I first started doing online meetings or Skype meetings was looking like I was a participant, like I was active. Like when you're standing talking to someone, I do a lot of talking with my hands. But how do I talk with my hands while I'm doing a Zoom? It's a different skill set. You have to practice.
Yes.
I have to agree with both of you. You know, like you said, Zoom's a really good. I mean, we're using it right now. We're all collaborating. It's teamwork on all of us. But I mean, texting. There's texting, email, FaceTime. Like you said, Skype. We got Zoom, WebEx. There's all these, and most of those are free. And just communicating in a way where you're talking to other people. It's just good to keep practicing the communication skill as well. It's not only teamwork; it's practicing your good communication. So I definitely recommend using one of those that we listed.
All right. So looks like our next question is coming from Blake, and he wants to know, what are colleges really looking for in a student?
Dr. Gallant, you're probably the best one to answer this for sure.
Yeah, and I can answer it. Of course, there's all different kinds of experiences, higher education experiences, and there are some slight differences in what the admissions offices are looking for. If you are talking to a community college, they're looking for a student that may be different from if you're talking to a small private or a faith-based institution. And so there are lots of different things. When I talk to admissions officers, what they're looking at is the fit of the student. It's not just the grades. Grades are important. The test scores are important. But it's, will the student succeed at my university, my community college, my technical college? I want the student to succeed. That's the most important thing to me. It's the students and their progression. And I will tell you from personal experience, my son went off to college many years ago, and he actually went to a college where I was a faculty member, and I talked to him and I said, I don't think this is the right experience for you. I don't think you're going to enjoy your experience here. And he said, no, I'm going to go. This is what I want. He lasted a year, and because it was an incorrect fit. He then transferred. He went to a community college for a while and refreshed, and then he went off to a four-year institution and finished his degree. It took that time. Not everyone fits into every university. Not everyone fits into every college. I remember back when I was going, I went to a very small high school, a relatively small high school. I thought it was small back then. We had a graduating class of 300. I now know my children all graduated from a high school where the graduating classes were about 30. So I now, they're all different sizes, but I was looking to disappear. I went to a very large university because I wanted to be a number, and because that was the experience that I needed. So I would not have done well if I had gone to a smaller school, because that was not what I needed at that time in my life. So they're all different, but I come back to the most important thing is to communicate with the university, communicate with the school that you're thinking about, and they'll help you figure out whether you're the right fit.
Sure. Another thing, I know specific departments or scholarships are given, and a lot of scholarships at some of the major or larger schools or universities have the interview process, honors programs, different things like that. And one of the things that they're looking for is, what have you done? They understand you're in high school. They understand that, and that you haven't had, the chance to do, molecular research or fly to the moon yet. But they want to know, what did you do while you were in high school? Yes, what clubs were you a member of, but how active were you in those clubs? Did you have an office in that club or organization? Were you the team captain if you were playing sports? Because they're going to ask you questions about being a team member, being a team player, leadership, and things like that. Because like Dr. Gelt said, they're looking to see how you fit. So a lot of those scholarships or specific university or school programs may interview you. Some may not. Some may just be looking at your resume, your transcript, and different things like that. But if you're going on the interview process, you need to be ready. And I would definitely practice. Reach out to some people. Let them do a mock interview. Could you ask me some questions? What do you think they'll ask? Do you know somebody that was just interviewed in that program? I would ask them what they asked them, and get prepared as best as you possibly can. Literally put your best foot forward.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that admissions officers are looking for is the student who may not have been the star in high school, the one who had challenges. And how do we find that student who is a diamond in the rough, that when they walk into our campus is just going to turn out to be, the star. And that's tough, because the numbers, it's not looking at the grades. It's not looking at the SAT or the ACT. It's looking for something that is hard to explain.
Sure.
But you know it when you see it.
Yeah, and I've seen several scholarship applications, because I've been a reference for several students these past several years. Is they're looking for that personal experience, and name a difficult time and how did you overcome that.
Yep.
Or different situations like that. And when I say right from the heart, I mean right from the heart. Be honest. And like Dr. Gelt just said, that is exactly what a lot of them are looking for. They're looking for a chance, and to take a chance and maybe give a student an opportunity to really show what they can do.
I completely agree, and I don't really have anything to add compared to what you guys have. So.
All right, I think we have time for just one last question, and that's going to go to Haven Blythe. And they would like to know, what would be your advice to a student who wants to move out of the state, but their parents aren't on board with it?
I can't exactly say my parents weren't vocally on board with it, but I could see that they probably weren't. I think it's reassuring them. First of all, my first question to you is, are you responsible? Can your parents trust you? Do they know that once you get there, you'll be okay? It doesn't mean you won't ask them for help. It doesn't mean you won't be homesick and miss them. But can you convey to them that they can trust you? You'll be responsible. You'll be able to pay your rent, your phone bill, your car payment, your insurance, whatever you have, because once you move out and go out of state, when you're an adult and you graduate, that's a different thing. Maybe if you're talking about going out of state for college, it's really the same scenario. Can they trust you? Will you be responsible? Talk to them about how you'll be safe. Look up how your campus or the university that you're planning on attend, what do they have in place for emergency situations, or say, how is it safe? How is your dorm safe? What does that look like? I would really you need to convey to them how you plan on being responsible, and if they can trust you.
Yeah, if I can add just one other thing, because I've talked to some parents, and sometimes parents facing a nest that's being emptied it's going to be very different for your parents, because they love you, and they're used to having you around, and they want to have you around, and you're going off somewhere, and they want to be assured that you're going to come back, and that you're going to communicate, that you can do FaceTime every day, so because they don't want to lose their children. And so, that sometimes is also part of the motivation.
For sure. My mom said, and I just went to UCA, about 2.5 hours from home, but she said dropping me off at college was harder than dropping me off my first day of kindergarten, by far.
And I really don't have anything to add on this one either. I went to a community college because, that's what my parents were also wanting, other than me wanting it too. So I kind of have a different, standpoint. I like the home feeling. I agree with going back to what Beth was saying earlier. It's really important to kind of get out there, and, same with what the doctor was saying. It's just a whole different experience when you're on your own. Getting on my own, even at home, is a whole different feeling. I could only imagine in a whole different state, out-of-state tuition, scholarships, dealing with all that. It's just a lot of work to do. But as long as you're up for the challenge, then, go for it. That's what I say.
Yes.
Okay, thank you guys so much. We're at 12:01. Thank you all for being a part of this panel. It was really awesome. And I'm going to leave it on to you, Melissa, to kind of tell us some final steps.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. Before you leave, don't forget to take the survey. The link is located in the chat. Our next webinar is going to be a journey through East, from small town Arkansas to network television, with Tevin Wooten, tomorrow from 12 to 1. Sign up on the eastconference.org website if you want to join us on Zoom, or you can join us on Facebook Live. You can even watch it later on YouTube. If you have any questions about East, please direct them to eastinfo@eaststaff.org. Thank you all so much for joining us. Have a great day.